Okay, Shashi Tharoor's last tweet in Sunanda is, my wife's illness means I need to be with her and will miss all 5 events of the Jaipur Lit Fest. We've also got Shashi's son Ishan, who's a journalist himself, I think with Time magazine. He's tweeting to say, please respect our privacy at this time. Just give us a moment, I'll just find that. He's tweeting to say, I would request everyone to respect our family's privacy at this time. Also, Jacob Joseph, the man who put out that picture which got Shashi into trouble in the first occasion, a former aide who worked with him when he was in the Ministry of External Affairs, also ran his campaign in Thiruvananthapuram, says, sad, I know Sunanda, she is not someone who will commit suicide. And that again and again is the one recurring theme that emerges from most people who know Sunanda Tharoor. Given just her personality, Veer Sanghvi, people find very difficult to believe that here's someone who would actually go out and commit suicide, sir.
Yeah, she was a life enhancer. We said this at the beginning. When she entered a room, the room sort of came alive. Even if she didn't know you very well, she had that ability to communicate a great deal of warmth. If you met her for like 10 minutes, you felt you'd met her for an hour because there was so much warmth, there was so much candor, a degree of indiscretion in the way in which she interacted with people. It's extraordinary to think of somebody who was that alive to no longer be there.
And she also mentions taking the flak for Shashi Tharoor's crimes in the IPL and being the fall person for that. I'm going to ask Veer Sanghvi that question in a moment, but I want to go across to Anil Dharkar, a renowned columnist joining us on our broadcast this evening. Mr. Dharkar, your first response to Sunanda Tharoor's death?
Well, what can one say? It's such a tragedy, and you always wonder why someone takes their own life, and particularly with her, because she was actually so full of life that the whole thought of her taking her own life is preposterous. I met her a few times. I met her with Shashi, and she was always, but she was an extremely glamorous woman, and she was very lively. She was vivacious and very bright, and I just cannot fathom what has happened. It's a huge shock.
What do you think could have possibly led to Sunanda reaching a point where she felt that life was no longer worth it and that she'd rather commit suicide? Given how full of life she was, just the sort of person she'd been the last several years, what could have pushed her to the brink in this fashion?
Well, you know, she was a very intense person. She was a very passionate kind of person. And she, I think, went through huge ups and downs in terms of emotions. And I think she was in a huge downward phase at this moment with whatever was happening. I think one was her health, which we do not know much about, but it was obviously something which was quite serious for her to go abroad for treatment. That was one. And secondly, this whole thing about this Pakistani journalist, which has come out in this detail with all the tweets and so on. And now you could see that she was very, very deeply affected by this. But when they issued this joint communication about a reconciliation, etc., you thought the worst was over, and that somehow they would, iron out the differences and go on with their lives. You certainly didn't expect that she was in such a low phase that she would commit suicide.
Okay. You know, the one thing that Sunanda tweeted about, which got missed out or didn't get as much attention in this whole controversy, was her tweet, Veer Sanghvi. Thank you very much, Mr. Dharkar, for joining us, where she says, I took upon myself the crimes of this man during the Indian Premier League. I will not allow this to be done to me. I just cannot tolerate this. I have nothing more to say. Because the story at that time was that Sunanda is the one who got the sweat equity, and she was made to be the fall person in that entire episode. Sunanda clearly believed that there was another side to that story, which is why she's saying, I took upon myself the crimes of this man and I will not allow this to be done to me. And that is something which will need to be investigated much further, Mr. Veer Sanghvi.